What we do know is Quinshon Judkins looks healthy coming off his season-ending injury last season. Zach, I think on the first day in the open OTAs, you came back and said the biggest storyline was, hey, Quinshon's back. Yeah. And he may not be at 100% yet, but he is trending towards being 100% for the start of the regular season. In our first segment, you talked about the Browns' emphasis on pushing the passing game deep through the parts of OTAs and minicamp that you've seen. But on the back end of that is the rushing attack. Deeper passing means less congested boxes, opening up lanes for Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, whoever else. And with a newly revamped offensive line, there's a chance that we could be in for a major second season from the Browns' second-round pick in 2025. Zach, when you look at what Todd Monken has done in the past with his system and Quinshon Judkins' running style, do you see this as a match made in heaven between the two?
Yeah, I think it's a good match. What we're seeing in the spring is always going to be ugly, but we didn't see much Judkins, and we didn't see Harold Fannin, and we know both those guys are really good. Now, we're looking over this season and the seasons ahead for those guys to become good to great because I think they both have the ability. So, first with Quinshon, it's health. But the opportunity part is certainly going to be there. Yeah. The Browns need to run the ball. This is clearly the 1A runner on this team. And I think as a rookie with no training camp, we saw his ability, right? There were offensive line problems. There was a quarterback shuffle. There was all sorts of playing from behind a lot. But Quinshon Judkins in multiple games showed to me an extra gear. So just adding muscle, adding polish, getting healthy. He's been in the building like every day since January, working back a little at a time. So, exactly how are they trying to scheme up runs? Exactly how much workload is he ready for or is best for him in September? I don't know, but most importantly, he's on track. And just watching him run around, you're like, okay, this guy's got some juice, Garrett.
Man, I told people at the end of the last year, I said, man, don't expect Quinshon Judkins to be back quick. The broken leg, broken ankle, and I'm like, man, it was a gruesome injury, and I thought he may be slowed down a little bit. Man, let me tell you something. I see him. I said, bro, he don't look like he hurt. He looked like he a little quicker. It looked like he in better shape. And I thought about it again. We go back to Isaiah Bond. Came in halfway through camp. Quinshon Judkins came in halfway through camp. And his first work was like what I believe against the Ravens.
He signed the day before the first game. He didn't have a practice until the regular season.
That's crazy.
From minicamp until September.
That's crazy. So I could tell now, if you've been in the building rehabbing and taking from a guy that does a lot of rehab, it puts you in a mind state where you come back from it and be like, man, am I a little stronger? Because you are putting work in the different places around your body. The thing I liked the other day I saw was Todd Monken was working with him on working a route out of the backfield. And he talked about his footwork and getting the footwork correct at the top of his route on a choice route out of the backfield. And I said, man, usually, you wouldn't see that. You really wouldn't see him, coached up precisely like that on that route. But I loved it because, Quinshon Judkins is like, yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. He just, he's a dude that's completely focused on football. Mm-hmm. You could tell. And I actually think that one of the things that we see McNuggets is out of the backfield, there was a lot of screen passes that got called back last year. Yeah. Big plays for holding our guys downfield. So I think he might be a bigger little asset in the passing game.
Oh, it can't be less of an asset in the passing game. They didn't really use him in that regard, but
he couldn't play on passing downs because he missed all camp.
Yes, he didn't have pass protection, all that stuff.
Just the protection stuff, right?
When we were going over the rundown yesterday, Earl had sent us this idea for the topic, Monken's system, how does Judkins fit in? And I went back and I was like, I don't really know what Monken's system is. And I think the one thing we know about Monken is he adapts to his best players. And I went through, and in every year that Todd Monken's been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, these have been his leading rushers by season. You guys ready for this? 2016 with the Buccaneers, Jaquiz Rodgers, 560 yards. 2017 with Peyton Barber, 423 yards. 2018 with the Buccaneers, Peyton Barber, 871 yards. Not great running backs, it was more of a passing offense. Comes to Cleveland in 2019. Nick Chubb runs for just shy of 1,500 yards. Has a great running back, features him. Goes to he goes to Athens, spends 3 years with Georgia, then goes to the Ravens. 2023, Lamar Jackson led the team in rushing, 821 yards. The 2 years after, Derrick Henry, 1921, 1595. That was a RPO-heavy, offense, run scheme that the Browns don't have a Lamar Jack. Like, Shador's a better scrambler than we thought. Deshaun used to be super mobile to Achilles injuries later. I don't think they're running a ton of RPOs in the same regard, even if we did see a little bit in camp. So what I did do after that was I searched all 22 Quinshon Judkins highlights. And I'm just going to say, after watching about 7 minutes of cut-ups, 2 things stood out to me from last year on Judkins. One, the Browns' offensive line last year was a catastrophe. He was making dudes miss in the backfield left and right because they couldn't block anyone off the line at all. Bigger than how good Judkins was, my biggest takeaway was, oh my goodness, I forgot how bad that offensive line was. And I cannot believe we were subjected to that atrocity for 17 games. The second point was, Judkins is really good, and he's got the rare blend of explosion, strength, vision, and lateral quickness to make that one half step that makes guys miss in the backfield. And that's what separates okay backs from good backs and the good backs from the great backs. Your line's not always going to give you the perfect hole to run through. But can you make that first guy miss, which then sets up the hole for you to explode and turn a 2-yard gain into a 6-yard gain, a 6-yard gain into a 15-yard gain, and then obviously the breakaway speed. And more often than not last year, in the worst of circumstances with more defenders in the backfield than yards of open space for Quinshon to run to, he was making guys miss. A healthy Quinshon with an improved offensive line with some passing threats that can actually stretch the defense more than Monken's system. That's why I think Quinshon's in for a monstrous second season.
So when the Browns won on the clock early in the second round last year, they ended up picking him over his college teammate Travion Henderson and basically judging Judkins versus all the other running back options. 2 things. One, they thought he was powerful enough to be that off-tackle runner regardless of scheme. They were obviously looking at last year's scheme. But more than that, he doesn't have the straight line speed, I think, of Henderson, but they just thought he was explosive. They just thought he could catch the ball a little bit. He had enough power to be good and add his, but they just thought this is an explosive dude that can turn 3-yard runs into 8-yard runs, 8-yard runs into 40-yard runs. So again, I don't think he's going to have a ton of 40-yard runs, 50-yard runs, but they feel like the blend of power and explosion is going to allow him to take another leap.
If you, I went back and looked.
The offensive line was so bad. I can't believe it was as we talked about it every week, and it was worse than I remembered.
Guys would just be. There's sometimes I don't know who they're supposed to be blocking. I'm just like I don't.
So
but
I mean, let's go back and look at the tackle rotation from the first half of the season.
Yeah,
fair.
Okay, we'll give you
but it
that.
was so bad.
If you take Quinshon Judkins and you say he takes a step, and then we talk about how the upgrades of the offensive line go. These are all things that can put you in a position where if you look at the quarterback position by itself, you may have your skepticism. However, we talked in the first segment, and we talked about the receivers and Denzel Boston and Isaiah Bond coming along. The second segment, we talk about Quinshon Judkins, and we've already talked about what they've done with the offensive line room. If you can start to see those guys take a step forward, you can see how you make the quarterback position much more easy to play and much more palatable when you think about what the expectation levels and what they could be.
And if we want to see better quarterback play, we want to see defenses have to respect what the offense can do, you run the ball. Get an 8th guy in the box. Send Isaiah and Casey Concepcion deep and see if the defensive backs can keep up with the Browns' 2 speedsters. They all go hand in hand here, but it all starts with the offensive line. Better run blocking, better pass protection, more time for it.
So I could sign you up for 1,000 for Quinshon Judkins then, huh? I could sign you up.
I think I'd take 1,200.
I think you could. I think even if the team doesn't win many games, I think you could sign up for 1,000.
I'm thinking 1,200. 1,200.
I like that. I like that. I'll take 12.
Ant, would you do 1,200 for Judkins?
I'll go 13. I believe in him.
I like it. All right.
Also, I want the games to go fast.
Me too.
A lot of runs for Quinshon does speed up the time of the game.
25 carries a game.
All the positivity just evaporated because Anthony's like, I just want to get done with our Sunday
We was
show
kumbaya.
and move on.